Right now, at this exact moment, your body is speaking to you, a language you've probably been entirely ignoring. It's not using words, it's not using clear thoughts, it's communicating the only way it knows how, through sudden tension, deep aches, unexplained exhaustion, and physical symptoms that no doctor has ever been able to figure out.
Welcome to this explainer. Your body has been trying to tell you something, not in words, not in thoughts. Look, we almost always think of trauma as something that solely lives up in the mind, right? Like a bad memory or a psychological hurdle. But trauma doesn't just live in your head. It lives in your physical body. Those random symptoms you've been putting up with, that is actually your nervous system screaming to be heard. And until you learn to read what your physical self is saying, it's just going to keep saying it louder and louder.
Section 1, the body's secret language, decoding the signals you've ignored. We spend so much of our lives incredibly frustrated. We label our chronic pain as just unexplained physical symptoms. We start to think our bodies are failing us, or worse, that we're somehow permanently broken. But the reality is entirely different. What you're experiencing is literally the physical record of unprocessed trauma. I want to reassure you right now, with absolute certainty, you are not broken. Your nervous system is simply communicating its survival through that tension and pain. Today, we're going to decode the secret dossier together, and we're going to look at every single symptom not as a disease, but as a profound revelation of how you survived.
Section 2. Armor, Gut, and Grind. The physical cost of chronic preparation.
Let's talk about the physical armor your body builds. Signal 1. Chronic shoulder and neck tension. You carry this tightness like you are permanently braced for an impact that never actually comes. You know the feeling, right? You get a massage, it helps for a day or two, but the tightness always comes right back. Why? Because your shoulders aren't tight just from sitting at a desk all day. They're locked up because your nervous system has been trapped in a chronic threat mode. The muscles responsible for protecting your most vital areas, your head and your spine, literally never release, because some deep part of you has never felt safe enough to put down your guard. Now, closely related to that physical armor is signal 5, jaw clenching or grinding your teeth. Maybe you wake up with a sore jaw, or you catch yourself clamping down out of nowhere in the middle of the day. Listen to this. The jaw holds more suppressed emotion than almost any other part of the human body. This is not just a dental issue. This is anger that you never got to express. These are the words you were never allowed to say, and the screams you swallowed whole for years. Your jaw physically remembers everything you were never permitted to release. All of this brings us to a scientific concept known as somatic psychology. This is the framework that recognizes that emotional and traumatic experiences are literally stored physically inside the human body. It is not a metaphor. It's a documented biological reality. Your experience is completely valid, and science totally backs up the fact that your body is holding on to your history. And the scope of this physical storage is just staggering. Think about your gut, which is often called your second brain. The gut actually contains more neurons than your entire spinal cord. Because of this massive neural network, it's one of the primary sites where we somatically store our traumatic experiences, which perfectly explains those random stomach problems, the IBS, the unexplained nausea. It isn't just that you have a sensitive stomach. What's actually happening is your body is actively trying to process what your conscious mind simply cannot face yet. When you feel sick to your stomach for no clear medical reason, your body is literally attempting to digest the trauma that your mind is avoiding. Section 3, the cost of surviving. Why sleep doesn't fix your exhaustion. Let's talk about that bone-deep exhaustion that sleep just does not fix. You could sleep for 8 solid hours, you could rest all weekend long, but Monday morning rolls around and the exhaustion is still right there. That happens because chronic trauma keeps your nervous system in a constant state of low-level activation. It is continuously draining your energy, fighting off invisible threats even while you are fast asleep. And a body fighting a shadow war never truly gets to rest. So many of us are so incredibly hard on ourselves about this. We think, I'm just lazy. I don't have enough discipline. But what looks like laziness is actually the crushing systemic cost of surviving invisible threats. Please hear me on this. Your fatigue is not a moral failing. It is the literal biological cost of your nervous system working overtime to survive something it hasn't been able to resolve. Be deeply compassionate with yourself here. Section 4, the breath of hiding, the most trauma-sensitive muscle in the body. I want to ask you something directly, and I want you to try this with me right now. Try to take a massive, deep breath in. Ready? Go. Now, why does something stop you halfway? For so many people, there is an actual physical block, a tightness that entirely prevents the lungs from expanding the way they naturally should. Your diaphragm, which is your primary breathing muscle, is arguably the single most trauma-sensitive muscle in your entire body. Shallow breathing is actually the body's way of staying small, staying quiet, and remaining completely undetectable. Almost no one ever connects their breathing difficulties to trauma. But this shallow breath, it's a survival response. It's left over from a time in your life when being noticed meant being hurt. We usually just write this off, don't we? We assume it's bad posture or just the stress of the daily commute. But in reality, it's your body still hiding in the shadows long after the original danger has passed. Your diaphragm is carrying that physical memory, and your shallow breathing is a tragic yet incredibly beautiful and intelligent attempt by your own body to protect you. Section 5. The mind's great escape. When the body completes what the mind put on hold. Have you ever been in the middle of a normal conversation, but suddenly you feel like you're watching it happen from a distance? You're living your life, but it just doesn't feel quite real. That's dissociation. It's the nervous system's incredibly sophisticated mechanism to mentally exit a situation that the body physically can't leave. Watching your own life from the outside is a terrifying feeling, but finally understanding why it happens changes absolutely everything. If you dissociate regularly, it just means that at some point your nervous system learned that staying present was simply not safe. This mental escape isn't a glitch or a malfunction. It is a brilliant protective shield. It's guarding you from a danger that might not even exist anymore, but the shield stays active, just in case. And then there's signal 7, sudden crying without knowing why. It hits you entirely out of nowhere. You're driving in your car, you're standing in the shower, you're watching a commercial that isn't even remotely sad, and suddenly you are completely overwhelmed with tears, and you literally have no idea why. We are so quick to judge ourselves when this happens. We assume it's a sign of emotional weakness or that we're somehow losing our grip, but what it actually is the body stepping in to complete an emotional process. Your body is taking over to finally process the heavy emotional material that your conscious mind had to compartmentalize, suppress, and put on hold just so you could survive. Tears without a known cause are absolutely not a weakness. They are a profound release valve, and they are functioning exactly the way they were designed to. Section 6. The archive is open. Your body is not broken. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a completely new way to look at your lived experience. Your body is not broken. It is not overreacting. It is a brilliant, incredible machine doing exactly what it was designed to do. It's carrying the historical record of your survival. Every ache, every tight jaw, every shallow breath, and every unexplained tear is just a signal that something inside still needs your attention. And the very first step to healing, you just have to listen. If this explainer resonated with you today, believe me, there is so much more to uncover. Make sure to subscribe to Dark Archive. Every single week, we open up a new file, exploring forbidden psychology, buried history, and the dark truths that they never taught you. The archive of your body is finally open. The only question is, are you ready to read what it says?